Alright, Mount Jacob Backtrack. One way only, so don't have to worry what side you want, wherever you want. I got a bit more pressure than I ran for the Mount Samuel backtrack, just because of the rocks here. Crazy. Neil and Michael had both gone back to the cabin because they had some just maintenance and washing and stuff to catch up on. I'd had a look at my pre-filter. I was just going to change it the next morning, so that was all. I'd done this a couple of times before, but I hadn't done it on the rally, so I wanted to zip through it and see what it's like. Like I said, it's one way. I've got the tyre pressures a little higher here in Arkaroola than I do for anywhere else. It's got a lot of quite jagged rocks. This track's not maintained, and it is definitely worse than previous times. I mean, the first time we came here I was on the Africa Twin, and Neil was on his GSA, which I thought at the time was absolutely heroic of him, and I still do. Neil's done it before, Michael's done it before, but like I said, you know, they had things to do, so I thought, well, I'll just zip around it. Just FYI, I do have my spot tracker connected to my GPS, which for those who don't, sorry, not a spot tracker. I've got my InReach connected to my Garmin GPS. And for those who don't know, if you take a tumble and the bike ends up more than on its side for, you know, 30 seconds or whatever, or it's... Neil did this on his GSA 2 trips ago. Yeah, talking about Neil and his GSA doing it. That is enough people. So, trying not to talk over myself here. But yeah, the InReach will actually then send a message to your SOS contacts and everything, unless you cancel it on the screen after a certain time. So it has a bit of a fail-safe there. But I could also, you know, send a message. Now on the back I do have my compressor, tyre levers, patches, 2 tubes, toolkit. You know, so you don't come out here and do this without being a bit self-sufficient. Also, at the end of the day, Arkaroola Village send one of their workers around on a motorbike, just to make sure that no one's sitting out here with a, you know, run off the road in their 4-wheel drive or flat tire or whatever, or need assistance or whatever the scoop is. So yeah, it's not like you'd be stuck out here for the night. But also, like I said, it's one way. You know, I've got the track on my GPS. I can see roughly where I'm going. I know there's one steep rocky section at the end, and there's a couple of little creek crossing bits. There's a couple of washouts. I've got to say the track is a little worse for wear than the last few times I did it. You know, you'll see some bits at the end, but you know, it's also nice once in a while just to not have to worry about your dust affecting someone else or anyone else's dust affecting you, and you know, just get out and have a bit of a spin around. So with that in mind, I am riding fairly cautiously. My emphasis on the rally is to keep the front end planted a bit more than any worry about really what the rear end is doing. It just sorts itself out as long as the front end gets you pointed where you need to go. Also not the most picturesque kind of ride from the point of view of distant mountains and that kind of things. There is a couple of places a bit further on where you can get up and there's a bit of a lookout. As you'll see, one of them is blocked off and the other one's just drives up a hill and down. So yeah, this one's not really I'm not sightseeing, but I didn't point out in the last video when I had a bit of blank time and some of those rides just how cool the scenery is. When you're coming back from out at Paralana radioactive hot springs and stuff, you go through different sections and different scenery, and it opens up in places, and everywhere down here is a lot more interesting than your general outback, which is why we ride in the Gavin Ranges, which is these ones, and Arkaroola, and also when we were riding around Flinders and the Flinders Ranges, there's just more to see, more variety, and you can tell that it's a pretty special kind of place. So yeah, this is more or less a one-wheel drive, four-wheel drive track. We ran into a couple who were riding 1090s or 1190s, and this evening in the restaurant, and they'd been around this, and they'd also done Mount Buggery as well, both fairly tall, which is an advantage for these tall bikes, but the rally does soak up a lot of this stuff and just smooth it out and make it a bit of a magic carpet ride. Yeah, just a case of me not doing anything wrong really. The bike is so much more capable than I am. I'm using maybe 50% of its capability at most, and not even that on this track. But like I say, on your own you do back it down a little and just take it a bit easier. We have seen some pretty cool with flowers and stuff, the South Australian native flowers and different things when we've been here at different times after the rain. We're actually here earlier in the year than we usually come. This is sort of at the start of winter instead of we usually come at the end of winter. So everything is a little bit different. But yeah, it's just nice to get out and have a bit of a spin, and even if you spin your wheel and you spit a rock out the back, I don't have to worry about anyone else being there or whatever. So just a nice cruise around this section. I mean, to a large degree, you do have to pick one of the wheel ruts pretty much, for this kind of thing, and that means either your left-hand side's hitting stuff or your right-hand side's hitting stuff, and a lot of this is sort of cambered right to left, so I tend to be in the higher lane so that you can always drop down to the other one if you have to, but it also does mean that, once in a while you're scraping stuff with the side of the helmet and the camera.
Picked the wrong lane in that one.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the blocked off lookout. Yeah, I did pick the wrong lane for that. So sometimes with that stuff with water erosion down the middle, you just got to pick one and go for it, unless it gets too bad and you hop over it. But yeah, a lot of this is just easy stuff. There is one section at the end where there's some steps up that are rocky and the approach is a bit slow, and I've got to say I'd probably didn't do a very good job of it. I mean, I didn't drop the bike, so that's a win, but didn't do a very good job of line choice, and could have had a little bit of a look at it first maybe. But yeah, other than, you know, kind of letting the bike stall and then having to restart on this tall bike, I'll take it. Yeah, that little lookout there just goes up to that hill, 10 metres on the right. So there's a couple of these sections where at the bottom of the V, like that one there, you know, it's a lot more washed out than it has been. So I'd say in the last year they've had some fairly good rain events come through. When we were here the year before, they actually had placed rocks in some of them, and they all seem to have washed away. So they've come out and done a bit of work on them, but then the rain's undone their work. So pretty well everything through here I think is Land Cruiser or Nissan Patrol width. You can pretty much see where they go through, and their mirrors and body push the brush out of the way. And you know, you could easily put a wheel wrong in some of these and you know, be aiming in a direction you don't want to be aiming in. So you know, that's a consideration on these. You know, I've got higher tyre pressures than I would normally run just because of the rocks, and you know, that does decrease your grip. I would prefer to go down a little, you know, into the teens for the front and 20-ish for the rear, you know, for added traction, but then you're just running the risk of puncture. Just as a general overview of the whole trip, you know, this has just been you know, everything's gone to plan except for the weather at the start, which you know, meant that we had to take a bit of a road detour that was unavoidable, with the roads that we wanted to use being literally closed, as well as you wouldn't get through that black soil with the amount of rain that we had. But you know, just absolute you know, delight being out with the boys on this trip. You know, we just put shit on each other non-stop. All the camping's gone well. My new tent has proven itself, and now that I've figured out that my head goes at the entrance and not the other end, I mean, I was running a 3-man tent before this, small 3-man tent, so I had a lot more room, but yeah, with the cheap bags and downsizing on the weight, you know, I've really enjoyed the agility of the bike. When it's fully loaded, it feels much more like it's not loaded, which is what I was going for. And yeah, I've still got a bit more refining to do on getting all that sorted. Yeah, right now I've just got a little waterproof bag on the tail of the bike with the tools and tubes and pump. The bike's pretty much flawless. It just goes, yep, can we do that again? Please, can I have some more? And yeah. Have I ever mentioned how much I like my 890 Rally, ever, in passing? No? But yeah, for this, you know, it's one of those things that I don't think I would come here and not do. It's sort of an iconic bit of a ride, and you know, I'm probably just lucky with the you know, being a lighter kind of guy. You know, my fitness, even at 63, seems to be hanging in pretty well, and you know, I can do this all in one go without being puffed or anything. So you know, it's the kind of riding that you come all this way down here to do. You know, there's a couple that we've done infrequently, and a couple that we do every time. And I'm sure that we are only just barely scratching the tip of the iceberg with regards to tracks down here. You know, the one that we did, the loop around down the bottom of Hawker, where Michael decided he was going back into Hawker to get gas, and we were able to make it to Rawnsley Park. He took off, and it was like watching a low-flying missile disappear into the distance. There was just this dust cloud that came up behind him, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he was doing the speed limit everywhere, maybe even a little more, but
3.5 kilometers. Good.
Yeah, so
Far edge.
you know, at this point I'm just cruising, enjoying the ride, and you know, there's a bit of afternoon shadow there, but still nice and light, plenty of daylight between starting and finishing.
Back.
And like I say, just enjoying the bike, you know, just chance to get out here and let your hair, if you had any, down, while still keeping a bit up your sleeve, traction wise and safety wise. If you haven't ridden a rally with the Magic suspension on it, you're really missing out. It's mind-bogglingly good, especially with the Hahn wheels that are a bit tougher, that you can just roll into stuff and not have to worry about too much. So rocky section there just spanged me off course, which is
look at the rock. You don't wanna hit your dog.
yeah. So I was sort of heading for these trees and decided that stalling it out and starting from there was a better idea than trying to recover that. Curse these short legs. That doesn't even look steep.
Whoop, to the wrong
Yeah,
side.
I did.
Go the wrong side.
Took the wrong side, but like I say, I didn't really pay attention
I know that there's a right side there.
beforehand, and
That one?
could have actually stopped for a look.
Necessarily.
So I think we're getting towards the end of it, heading down into the final section, down towards the road, and yeah, but that's sort of an overview of this Backtrack, which I think is a bit of a must-do, and you know, the overview on the whole trip. So I think I give a bit of some detail on how many kilometres it was and everything when I get back on the road. Thanks for watching, and thanks for watching the shorter ones where I try and do the highlights, but I thought this one being the length that it was, it could be a standalone. I will have put stuff down the bottom into anything that I think was points of interest there, but yeah, just a nice cruise around, light bike, you know, which is the beauty of having somewhere that you set up as a base camp, that you can make your bike light for these kind of rides and enjoy it. Thanks to everyone who watches, and thanks to those who give it a thumbs up and comment. It is appreciated to know that some people are enjoying it and like certain bits. Till next time, cheers.
25 minutes.